Okay, so this hangout is about pain management, and I just really wanted to talk about my own experiences with pain because maybe they could help someone else that has pain as a I guess symptom of. I don't think it necessarily is a symptom of the type of neuromuscular disease I have, but I think it's more a symptom of being stuck in a wheelchair where I'm not getting a lot of movement and not having the same amount of movement I did when I could walk and stretch my legs. And I think when we're able to move our bodies, we naturally have the ability to stretch and move around, and we don't have that same ability when we're sitting if we can't move, so our body suffers, and as a result, we experience a lot of pain. We experience a lot of um, tension, inability to or, expand our flexibility. I know a lot of us have contractures, and that can cause a lot of pain if people move us the wrong way. I know that I'm very particular about where I like to be touched when I'm robed so that people don't jostle my body in a way that triggers the pain I have. A lot of my pain started as a result because I was doing standing transfers and I was doing them unsafely. When I was 16, my mom gave my Hoyer lift back to the company that had provided it for me because she was insisting that I was going to walk again and I was going to learn to get myself in and out of bed again. And so I had to find ways to stand up and transfer so I could get my pants on when I was in my wheelchair or go to the bathroom without a Hoyer lift. And I couldn't stand up and walk anymore, but I could hold myself up over my bed. So what I would do was I would stand myself over my bed and either have someone hold me up by pressing on like the back of my legs near my rear end to kind of keep me from falling backwards, or I would grab on for the, you know, dear life and hope I didn't fall. And then they would move chairs behind me. It was really this kind of dangerous thing where it was like, well, when am I going to fall? But I never really thought about that. And so one day I was in a hurry. I was late for class at the university where I lived. I had my own apartment, and my PCA and I at the time were both late. We were rushing, and as she pushed me forward in my shower chair, which didn't have any seatbelt on it, I just happened to lean forward at that moment because I was like, "Oh, I'll get ready to lean over the bed," but she just happened to push me at the same time, and you know what happens when you don't have any balance? I went tumbling forward. I landed on the bed just enough that my leg twisted underneath me, and she caught me and held me up until the paramedics came. But I was putting pressure on the leg the whole time, and I ended up getting a pressure fracture. And the doctors were like, "Well, you can't walk anyway, so we just recommend you don't do anything. You could have surgery, but that's going to take months and months of recovery." But what they didn't tell me is that healing on its own, it might not set right. And I ended up having a large gap between my knee at the tibia. And so then I couldn't stand up again, and I lost the strength to hold myself over the bed. So here I was doing these standing transfers where I was stretching my legs every day and I was stretching my body, and I went from that to virtually no movement or stretching at all. So I ended up having severe pain. I didn't have a wheelchair that was comfortable at the time. I've had horrible lucks with wheelchairs that are comfortable or not, and this has been an ongoing problem for me, finding wheelchairs that were comfortable. But I ended up spending 5 years in bed because I was fighting the companies to get physical therapy. I was fighting the companies to get um, a wheelchair that worked, and I was fighting the companies to get them to even acknowledge that, I had this pain problem because the doctors just kept feeding me narcotics. I tried everything for pain. I tried Vicodin, Percocet. I've been on morphine for pain, Tylenol 3, Tylenol 4 with codeine, Tramadol, NSAIDs, Motrin 800. I've been on everything for the pain, and a lot of it didn't work. A lot of it I had really bad side effects. When I first was having trouble getting up in my wheelchair, I was on Tylenol 4 with codeine, and I could just basically sit in my chair and I was a zombie. I couldn't remember anything. I could not do anything. I had to quit school because of being the pain and everything, and I ended up having to move up to Michigan with my girlfriend, and I really spent 7 years out of school before I came back because my body just broke down. It's amazing that one little event can cause our bodies just to collapse on us, and you know every little aspect of our health is compromised because we don't exactly have the ability to move. And so I started getting physical therapy coming into my house, and it's really hard to get that because you have to show that you need it, but you often also, depending on the state where you live or the area, you have to prove that you can't get out of the house to get physical therapy. And I think that's a really big deficit for our community because I don't know about you guys, but I can't get out of I can't get on a table or a bed in another area because I'm dependent on a Hoyer lift. And see, that's the really ironic part. My mom sold my Hoyer lift only for me to get a Hoyer lift again because then I was too injured to move myself. So, moral of the story, do not let your mother sell your Hoyer lift back to the company because invariably you're going to end up needing the Hoyer lift again. So, I've really had this maybe 13-year journey with pain medicines. I can tell you about what's worked for me. I can tell you about what hasn't worked. And hopefully we can figure out a plan for any of you if you're having pain to try and make things better. Now, for me, the answer is, and I'm recording this, and I don't care if I go on record saying this because I believe so strongly in it. For me, the answer is them allowing medical marijuana to be allowed because I had a medical marijuana tincture, Michigan, before I moved back to Ohio. Michigan had started allowing medical marijuana, and I had the chance to use a tincture for my pain. And I tell you, it is the only time where I did not feel any pain at all. I got in my wheelchair, and my body knew that it was hurting, but I had no pain at all. It was the most amazing thing. And it was also very positive for me because I my only real concern was that I constantly kept thinking, do people know I'm high? Because I went out to class and I had taken, you know, enough drops to make me pretty freaking high because my pain was so high. But at the time, it was so bad, and I had been getting injections in my shoulders, and whenever I needed an injection, I wasn't able to get out of bed for right before that because my shoulders were so stiff. It was agonizing to sit up on them. Well, with the tincture, I was able to get out of that's fine, Stephen. I will read anything you say. There's a message at the side that said Stephen's nonverbal because he has a trach, so he will be typing. And that's fine. If you have anything to say, I'll randomly look over to check that and make sure that we're listening to your thoughts and that you can actively participate. Um, but anyway, so I was taking this tincture and it was the no medicines I've had except the current medicine I'm on right now has ever made me be able to get out of bed without having to go get these shots. And with the tincture, it was the first time I was able to get out of bed. It felt so good to be, pain free for the first time in several years. It's just the greatest relief because I have pain every day. Every day is a struggle to get out of bed. Every day I have to psych myself up to get out of bed. I have to make the determination: is today I'm going to get out of a day I'm going to get out of bed, or do I have plans tomorrow so I may stay down so that I have enough, not necessarily energy, but I don't have to deal with so much pain once I'm down. Because the real problems I have with pain is getting in bed, getting out of bed. That really hurts me. Once I'm in my chair, I'm fine. And once I'm in bed after a few hours, I'm fine. But really, just for a few hours after I get in bed, it's just agonizing. And for a few hours, well, not a few hours, for maybe the first half an hour I'm in my chair, it's agonizing. So it makes me not want to move. So I'm really kind of trying to regulate my meds now so that I I can get up more because I'm fighting a stupid wheelchair again that's uncomfortable and doesn't have a lot of support. So I don't always get up. I have an appointment tomorrow, so I made the decision to stay down today because my wheelchair is broken and acting up and giving me problems. So I said, I don't want to mess with my wheelchair today, and I'll have less pain if I just get up tomorrow. If I get up tonight and do this hangout, then tomorrow morning when I want to go to get up, I'm going to be sore and I'm not going to want to go, and I'm going to really have to psych me up. I don't know if anybody else in this hangout has those moments where they just have to psych themselves up to get out of bed because they know that they're going to be in pain and they don't necessarily want to do that. So that's my basic story. Right now I'm on neurotonin, and I'm just starting to build up to the level where I need to get. The problem with neurotonin is you have to take a lot for it to take effect, and right now I'm taking 2 pills 3 times a day, and I don't swallow pills very well, so it's torture to take my medicine every day because I sometimes choke on the pills or they don't swallow right, but when I don't take them, I don't feel good. I have pain, and it it's the first drug I've been on besides taking medical marijuana where I feel less pain when I'm getting out of bed, especially. I'm still trying to figure out the getting into bed because that still is really killer for me, but I feel like I can handle moving more. And I feel like instead of taking, you know, um, an hour to really psych myself up to move after I get in bed and roll over on my side where I can move and use my computer and everything, I am able to say, okay, I'm going to lay here for 5 minutes and then I'm going to roll, and yeah, it's going to hurt, but I can deal with that pain. So I think there's a difference between the levels of pain we can deal with and just this pain that kind of limits our freedom to move and do the things we want. So I will definitely try to keep you guys up to date on how the Neurotinan's working beyond as I start taking 3 pills. And right now, I'm all of them are 100 milligrams, so I'm taking about 600 milligrams now, and you can go up to 3,600. So,
Are
and
they or are they tablets or capsules?
they're capsules for the 100 and 300, and I think the 600 you can get in tablets or capsules. They also have a liquid form, but I'm told it's really disgusting. And that's another issue I have is I have a very big gag reflex for taste. And so it's like I'm pretty much screwed either way. If I take the liquid form, I might be throwing it up. And if I take the pill form, I might be gagging and choking on it. So neither situation is ideal. For now, I'm handling the 100 milligram capsules, but um, once I get to 300, I can start taking the 300, and then I would take 300 3 times a day, and then I would take 300, take a second pill, and take 3 times a day. So I work my way up to where I'm taking 600 or 800 3 times a day if I need it. And the thing I also worry about is I hear over time you might have to take more, and I really don't want that to happen because I'm already taking. I know they say that it's a really safe drug, but at the same time, it's still a drug. I feel more comfortable taking something like marijuana that's natural, but that's just me. So why don't we just go down the line? And Lauren, why don't you feel free if you want to tell your story if you have any pain that you'd like to talk about?
I actually don't really, I mean, comparatively, I don't think I really have all that much pain. I'm mostly there for the advocating marijuana as, or cannabis, as to help people with pain. And then students behavior that it helps. For, as what Dominick has said, obviously, it's very helpful for pain. And then I have noticed, I mean, for menstrual cramps or headaches, I mostly have been in bed, um, not so much in my chair. It's pretty molded to how I need it to be. But with the bed, it's a little more. I don't know. It's harder to get situated in that perfect area that I need to get situated, and I think that would be a lot easier if everyone had access to something that would help you both sleep if you have problems with sleeping, and with the pain, obviously. But I have migraines. I've had issues with my stomach pretty much all my life. Um, and unfortunately, I live in Wisconsin, and we don't have any options for cannabis. I believe that they just recently legalized for just oils, the high CBD oils. Um, and if you don't know what that is, I think it's just basically an indica that helps people with seizures. I think it's for basically children with seizures around here. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in Ohio, and we're actually discussing the bills right now, so hopefully that'll get passed. But I'm moving to New York in the next 6 to 8 months, hopefully. So within the next year at the most, but hopefully it's 6 to 8 months. And they just passed it for medical use, but it's very restrictive. So it'd be really ironic if I left Ohio and they passed it, but New York has so much support. I can see that this is just a matter of time in New York. I want to go back because Stephen had a question for me, and it was, how is your memory and mental clarity on that drug? I assume you're referring to Neurotin. Is that correct? Yes. So my mental clarity and memory is fine in terms of the actual drug. I will tell you that my memory and mental clarity aren't that good because before that I've been on narcotics for 10 years or more, so my memory's already kind of shot. I used to be able to remember phone numbers. This is a really great example. I could, if you would tell me your phone number, you'd have to tell me once, and I would know it. And it could be any. It could be a long distance number, and I could tell you every one of my friends' phone numbers. 40, 50 people just from them telling me once. Now I have trouble remembering my own phone number. And I really do attribute that to long time uh, narcotics use. I really have to say that my memory and mental function has been impaired because I was on Vicodin and Percocet and especially Tylenol 4, which I had to stop taking because my memory was foggy. I didn't remember anything, and I started having horrible vertigo, and I'd be nauseous all the time. So the benefits of the pain relief were not at all better than the side effects I was having. So I ended up taking tramadol, and I still take tramadol when I get up and go down. And tramadol doesn't affect my memory at all because I'm on 50 milligrams. And what it does is it basically touches the pain. It makes it a little more tolerable for me to sit in my wheelchair. So my doctor said use that with the neurotonin. The neurotonin, though, it doesn't affect my memory or my mental clarity at all. But what it does do is right now it makes me so sleepy. I will be sitting somewhere just doing something. I was playing video games the other day, and my head fell down, and my controller almost fell out of my hands because I was sitting there, practically falling asleep. Or I'll be on my computer and I'll be typing a message or an article or something, and just in the middle of it, I'll just like fall asleep. So I think drowsiness is one of the main side effects, and they say it gets better, but every once in a while I'll just randomly fall asleep. But it doesn't really make my memory hazy at all or anything like that, which is a really positive side effect of the drug. Because the whole time I was on medical marijuana at the dose I needed, all I could think was, "Oh crap! Do people know I'm on marijuana?" So I had to.
Well, if it was legalized, you wouldn't have to do that.
Mhm.
Now, would you?
True. Um, but I went to class and I just had like the biggest grin on my face because I was like, I'm high. And do people know? It was both exciting but horrifying for me. And I have to imagine I did okay because both times I went to class, I had quizzes and I got 100%. But I kept feeling like I wasn't retaining knowledge. Apparently I was, but you know, I just was so hyper, oh God, I'm going to forget something. And that was the real effect. And I think that Margaret's right that this is really an issue of, if it was legal, I wouldn't be so, oh God, who knows. So,
It wouldn't immediately change people's viewpoints, but over time, at least, and you could at least say, well, fuck you, it's legal,
right,
but, then at least society will start to go that way.
right. Well, and, I personally wouldn't care. If people judge me and it's legal, I can say, whatever, it's legal. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So get off me, Jack. Whereas it's not, legal in a lot of places, so it's very taboo. It's very much like, oh God, are people gonna know? And even because it's not legal in a lot of states right now, even if you're in those states, I still feel like except for California, which I think people don't give a fuck.
I have a small concern, but not huge.
Yeah. I think in California it's been legal so long now that everybody's just kind of like, you're in California, get weed, you know?
No, it's more just like it's more just this culture of we're allowed, we can do whatever we want, like we're not gonna like bug each other about things like that,
Yeah.
So it seems like more individually, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So Margaret, it's your time to talk if you want to say anything about pain or medicine or anything.
Um, I recently I just was thinking about what's my purpose in life and things like that. And I think that I was thinking that it actually might be something I want to do is pursue medical cannabis, public policy and things because I've had similar experiences as you, and I've been lucky because I live in California. Not only do I live in California, I live in Berkeley. Okay, they're brilliant. They freaking tax and regulate the stuff. It's amazing. It's an absolutely amazing thing. But I think that I agree with you, Dominick, is that there's it's not so much the specific MD as you're sitting in a chair all day or you have those contractors and they mess with that things, and so I've been really really kind of scientific in how I approach it so that I understand what I'm doing and what I'm putting into my body, and it was kind of funny. Last year, you have to get a new card every year. And so last year, the doctor was like, suggested I get those high CBD tinctures. And he said, take some under your tongue every day, in the morning and then in the afternoon, and for like 2 weeks. And see if, because what it's supposed to do is be an anti-inflammatory and like I don't know, just tense and whatever, not really spasmodic, but drug. And so, because a lot of my stuff is from my contractors pulling on things, and so when he suggested try using this every day and see if it will give you an overall reduction in your pain, in your pain, in like your pain level in general. And so I actually did do that, sort of. I mean, I only did it for like a week because it actually worked out. It actually does work. I'm not religious about it because I do other marijuana in general, so it doesn't matter. If I do this high CBD all the time, because 90% of the time, the ones I buy have CBD at least sort of in them. And so it was really nice, though, to have what I like about how it is here in California, how it is, especially in Berkeley, is that there is no one between me and my pain management. Like I don't have to, justify, anything with a doctor, anything like that. They all have seemed to be fairly good about it, or okay with it, and I'm well enough educated about it that no one really, after their silly little we comments, I shock them into submission with some scientific things, and they normally shut up. Plus, you can always work on their assumption that I'm a poor little crippled girl in a wheelchair. My life must suck. You just give me the weed. And it's not my fault if they believe that horrible stereotype. I'm not the one that they had those notions. I mean, So, but yeah, I mean, and so that's what my experience has been. It's also been the only thing that has really helped with my SPC, this suprapubic catheter, like bladder pain and bladder spasms and just all that type of thing. Because that type of pain is really bad. I had to get Dilaudid more than once. In fact, I have, a bottle of Dilaudid still from, because the spasms were that bad. They were that painful and things, sometimes. And so it was also because I had an incompetent urologist, but, we're not going to go into that.
We have all that in another chat that we've talked about. So.
But recently I thought that I think I'm going to start advocating for it. So I'd be happy to do like a thing on medical marijuana where I could share, all my silly, geeky information.
Yeah, why don't we set up a hangout? And then, yeah, cool. And you can be our expert guru on that. So.
Yeah.
I love that you said that it's cool that they tax it, because I have this theory that if every state taxed medical marijuana or even legalized marijuana in general, like Colorado, and taxed it, we would be able to pay for a brand new, better PCA consumer directed program that, because they're constantly saying we can't improve that, but why couldn't they tax that and pay for health?
Well, yeah. Well, no, yeah, my theory is that prohibition, of course, was, is the major example, but my other theory is that, is also like the lottery, they took the lottery over, the government took the lottery over by, technically kind of legalizing it, and took it out of the hands of, gangsters. And so people don't, go interact with the mafia for that as much. So I feel like that will continue to, things will be good. Don't even get me started on the fact that CBD was almost essentially bred out of cannabis because people were only breeding it for street value, and street value, they want the head high. And see, the CBD, it will mitigate the psychoactive effects, and so you don't get a head high. And so people didn't like that, and so it almost completely went out. 90% of strains now don't have CBD in them, and it's just, or detectable levels, and it's pathetic. And luckily, there's been people who actually are like horticulturists and actually do these things, care about it. And that sounds so weird, but it's true. I mean, and the CBD. Unfortunately, the problem with CBD is that a lot of parents are only advocating for CBD, and when you do that, you really, CBD works best when it's combined with THC, and so you're really limiting things. So you have to be careful in what you support on things, because you don't want to say, oh, we're going to just legalize high CBD stuff, because then you're losing a huge portion of the population. Most of the time, the really high CBD stuff, that's not going to get the really intense bad thing. It's just not. It'll give you a clear, good pain relief, but it's not that great. So, and I have access to everything. I mean, I get delivery, medical marijuana delivery. So awesome. I order online. The best.
Apparently, if you're in the right club, you can get the delivery in New York City too, but it's still illegal. So you have to know people to get on that, which is
of course, yeah. Well, it'll eventually.
It'll get there. Yeah. The other benefit, and this really has nothing to do with pain management, but when you're using the THC and the CBD together, I found it is amazing for your sex life too. And I know that a lot of people with disabilities want to be more active sexually, but I feel like I almost have a more spiritual experience when, I'm using that medicine to handle my pain, and it carries over to to that. So I feel like it really improved my sexual health. Not to say I'm having any problems in that field, but it's always good when things are just 8 billion times better because you feel every little, as much as you don't feel pain, I feel like you feel things. You know what I'm saying? You feel, um,
It depends on what type you get.
yeah.
Sometimes,
Well,
but yeah.
that was the sativa. The sativa definitely. The it
Um,
gives you the more energy, so you're more up and more euphoric.
yeah, and those ones aren't gonna. Those ones are the ones that yeah, you're do what you're saying.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly. Yeah, those are the ones that do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think you experience like a feeling of almost bliss because you're not in pain anyway. So I think it just heightens the experience, and I think that because sex is such a pivotal topic in our community, if people knew just how much it can enhance your and you feel, well, I personally felt closer to my partner because it was so amazing, and I just haven't been able to replicate that headspace. So
It's a really good tool.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I consider it to be like just one other tool, and I think that that's why it needs to be legal. Is that it should just be another tool in our toolbox. Like right now, yeah, I'm sitting with my vaporizer, but I'm also sitting here with an ice pack, and this thing did wonders, way more than this, an hour ago. So it needs to be something that's just an option. It's
right.
there, but yeah.
Some days the old fashioned ice pack really helps. So Steven has said that he doesn't have a lot of pain, but he'd like to be prepared. And I think that that's a really great comment because a lot of times we aren't prepared for. I know I definitely wasn't prepared for a high level of pain because it came on at a time when, I was still young, really early 20s, really, really active, and out of nowhere,
And it was traumatizing.
Right.
On top.
Right. And he said that you can only get dried medical marijuana in Ontario, Canada. Which is a little surprising to me because Canada tends to be more progressive than the United States. I guess what we call liberal issues. So,
Yeah.
or at least they seem to.
Yes,
from where we
part of the reason I switched to medical marijuana also, aside from the fact that I knew I was going to be getting pain that was not going to go away anytime soon, was that I needed to go up from, I was gone up to Norco, and then I had to go, and I, then when I had to go up to Percocet, I was like, no, I'm not doing this because I'm only, mid-20s. Like, I know I have like a lot of years ahead of me. I don't want to use up all the freaking, pain meds and get a tolerance to all them and still have, so many years left afterwards. And so that was one other reason I switched off the opiates. So, I've been able to really decrease a lot of medications. So it's been good.
So yeah, no, being young, you don't, and I do think I have a big tolerance now for pain meds because I've been on so many, and so many of them make you so angry. I know that, when I am on morphine, I'm just like the meanest person ever. And they often give it to me after surgery, and then they wonder why I scream at nurses. They know I have a history of being antagonistic and evil when I'm on morphine, but, I don't want to be mean. And at the same time, it's completely hilarious because I'm really.
You're not a mean person.
Well, I don't know if I go that far, but I'm a lot more mild-mannered in person, I I know for all the passion I evoke through my fingertips, I think a little bit more about what I say in person as opposed to what I type. Not to say I don't think about what I type, but at the same time, I'm more quick to respond. I'm more quick witted. But when I'm sitting there, so I don't want to say I'm a little more low key, but I don't feel I'm as high maintenance, I guess, in person and you know, so.
Okay.
Steven said it's a different story in British Columbia. Does that mean they allow weed there, or they don't allow anything? I don't know. I don't really know that much about Canada, which is really sad because I grew up about an hour from the border. So I probably do know a little more than most Americans. I can name all of the Canadian provinces and some of their capitals. So I have that on most Americans.
Yeah, but 90% of us can't even name all the states. So
Yeah, which is pretty pathetic because they drum it into you in school. So
oh, I really, really can't because they did drum it into us, but not as much. I'm California, where there's
oh,
like the entire center of the state. If you're in the center of the United States, like it makes so much more sense that you'll know the states, from each side. Whereas California, we only have that one side, so you won't know as many of the states that are around you instinctively. And so and that is my lie, and I'm going to stick with it.
you're from Windsor. I'm very familiar with Windsor because first I lived in Toledo, which is an hour ish from Windsor. And then I lived in Flint, which is an hour ish in a different direction from Windsor. So Windsor has been my neighbor for a while. Oddly enough, I've never gone into Canada that way. I always go in through Niagara Falls. For some reason, I go all the way over to Buffalo, which is ridiculous given I lived 1 hour from Windsor. So, but usually we would just go to Detroit because, now you have to have your birth certificate and passport, and they don't even want to let you in Canada without all that stuff, so it's pretty annoying.
Well, who wants the Americans? No one wants us Americans.
True, true.
No, I'm kidding.
Well, in Ohio, you said you're Californian. In Ohio, they really do drum the states into us because we're so pretentious. Our seventh grade social studies class is called Ohio history. We have a whole year where we just learn about Ohio because we have 11 presidents or something like that, and we have all kinds of astronauts. Whoop de doo. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And we had Native Americans and mound builders, and I don't know. War of 1812 was fought here, and Civil War was fought like south of us. So we let the slaves in, and blah blah blah. We're so important. So they really like drummed states. God, you got to learn your states. And I always was like, well, I'm just gonna move to California because it's warm there. And so when we were in fifth grade, we each got a state and we had to draw it, and everybody wanted California, and I drew California, and kids tried to trade me, and I was like, "Are you crazy?" No, so I got to do a whole report on California. So I actually know more about California.
I did Mississippi.
Mississippi. I don't know anything
Yeah,
about.
your school system's better than ours,
That's kind of sad.
right?
Is their
Canada?
college system better than yours? I don't
Is
think
it
so.
college?
Yeah, I don't think their college.
No, we have really good college system. I was kidding. I was saying the Canadian school system is better than the United States.
Oh, I thought you said Mississippi was better.
Oh no,
That's why I was so shocked.
sorry. No, I'm just able to multitask, and I was reading Steven's thing. So yeah, I don't.
I know all 50 states with capitals, and I can name
I
them
might
from.
be able to if you gave me a map
Mm.
to like put them on, and then I'd have to like start and like narrow it down. You know what I mean? Maybe.
See,
Maybe.
I'm really good with maps, so I have the U.S. map in my head, so I can go Washington, Oregon, California, Arizona, New Mexico. I could just do it all the way around like that. Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, you know, yeah. So I see the map in my head, and then I can just name the state and the capital. But they used to give us tests where we'd all have to line up, and I think we'd get a lollipop if we, were the last one standing and knew our state capitals. So.
Oh.
Ohio promoted obesity, okay? You got cookies and stuff if knew your capitals.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do it alphabetically. I could try, but yeah.
Who needs to with Google Maps?
True, right. We could just Google everything. We don't need to know. So,
Because Google would never lie to us.
right. So getting
Just like Facebook wouldn't.
Facebook never lies. Right. Well, getting back on the topic of pain, because I am still recording, so I don't want people to think I got us too far off base. Although I think it's fun to talk about state songs, and I would love for Lauren to sing it to us before we leave if she wants. But I mean, really, my experience with pain is that it's individual for everybody, and what's going to work for me is not going to work for anybody else. So you really do have to be proactive. You need to worry about it now, because you don't know when you're going to have it, especially with us really not being able to move. If we're not getting stretched regularly or anything, and even if we are, it's not the same as standing up and stretching and naturally stretching as, when you stand up, your body naturally stretches and moves, and you have no choice but to move certain ways. So you get movement that we don't even think about, that our bodies just don't get. So being proactive and communicating with your doctor, I really had to tell my doctor, look, something's not getting better. The shots are only helping for so long. I need something more. And when I said that, he respected that and wanted to get me something more. We talked about my options. Also, being someone with muscle disease, my experience with muscle relaxants were not good. I know if you have a more mild form of muscle disease, it might not affect you the same way. But a lot of the people that I've spoken to that have a more severe type or severe progression have said that their particular experience with muscle relaxants has been that they have had the similar experience to me, and that is my muscles just can't move. They relax so much that I cannot pick my arm up, I can't move, and I just do not recommend them, especially if you have something like SMA. You don't want, my lung muscles, just sometimes act up now. I can't imagine if it affected all my muscles. I don't know if it would affect my lung muscles because it didn't do it that far. But what's to say it wouldn't, and I wouldn't be able to control my breathing or something? There's just too much of a risk in my mind to really take a muscle relaxant, because I literally had to have someone lift my arms for me. and that was a really foreign experience for me because I have enough movement to wiggle my arms and move them a bit, and when I'm in bed I have a lot more full range of movement with my arms. So just to have to lay there and be like mush was really kind of scary because I wasn't expecting it, and I think doctors don't think about that if they don't have experience with our types of disabilities.
I've had similar experiences, but I've actually also had the kind of an opposite sort of experience, just because the way my MD, congenital muscular dystrophy, Ulrich, affects me. We have both super tense and super lax muscles, and so a lot of my stuff is like I have way more contractures than just the ones from not moving. And they're more aggressive, and they don't know whether the it's like the contractures or it's the weakness that stops us if we walk, stops us from walking. First they're not sure. Of course they don't know anything, but that's the point. But so sometimes muscle relaxers help me just because it does relax the muscles, and that just gives the stuff like time to chill out and stuff. But I've also had the same experience too. So it just kind of depends on what it is and when it, and where you are and how you are and whatever. So
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Can I ask, were you able to walk earlier on, or have you never stood? Or
yeah. No, I walked until I started using a chair in my house when I was about 12, 13, a power chair in my house. And then I stopped being able to bear weight when I it wasn't that I necessarily bear weight, it's that I can stand, even doing standing frame. That's when I totaled my car when I was 17, a week after the day after I got my license, and lacerated my liver and, shit. But, that one. But, yeah, so
wow.
I'm a mess sometimes.
Stephen, do you have Duchenne or SMA or something different? One of the other 140, I just said SMA and Duchenne because it seems like our group is full of,
Oh, yes, Duchenne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How old are you, Stephen? $37.
I really feel like the stuff transcends this stuff. The pain type thing really transcends what your thing is, because we're all doing the same boat, kind of.
I also think it depends on each person. My experience with people who have Duchenne is it doesn't always happen. Like, I really wish Steve Catelli was here because he has experienced a lot of pain with Duchenne, and I believe he's like 30 now, just 30. And a lot of friends I had who were, in their 20s didn't really have pain. And you said that you haven't had a lot of pain, Stephen, but, in time it could happen. I really think that with Duchenne, it's been very individual to the person, whereas I've heard a lot more with SMA, more people seem to have pain. The odd part for me is that, excuse me. The odd part for me is that it seems like the people that have SMA type 3 are the ones that have a lot more pain. than 2 or 1. So I kind of joke that that's our punishment for having the more mild form of SMA.
Yeah. You want to know a random fun fact about medical marijuana?
Go for it.
So apparently, your cough made me remember. So recently, there was like one of the biggest studies ever on medical marijuana, and they looked at at people's lung function, their lung volume, and so they looked at uh, weed smokers, cigarette smokers, and non-smokers. And the funny part is, so of course the cigarette smokers were worse than the non-smokers, but the weed smokers, their lung functions their volumes were better than both the cigarette and the non-smokers. So, and honestly, I really feel like because I've been doing weed, like, and I use it via vaporizer, I've learned how to really get expanded deep breaths and really, use it and like get it. And so it's a random little fun fact I thought that you guys would like to hear. It's random. I know I'm full of all kinds of random stuff.
Yeah, I've heard that it actually helps with asthma. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
asthmatic, so,
Yeah.
another reason for me to want medical
Yeah.
marijuana. So.
Yeah. Well, I haven't had asthma in a while. Yeah, that's true.
Lauren, is there anything you want to add?
I don't know. No, I totally agree with everything you said about medical cannabis and how it helps with lung function. And I wish I could share more, but I can't right now. But I think another useful thing is I personally have a lot of social anxiety, and that would be something that, aside from helping people with pain, I think that would be something that would be really beneficial. Is to help with anxiety, depression, all that other stuff.
Very true. Very true.
So yeah, that's another thing I think would definitely be beneficial to everyone if it really was.
I also
Yeah.
find. Oh, go ahead, Margaret.
I was gonna say, yeah, I know it's not nice of me to like brag about our delivery service, and that there's apps on the app store to order off of. Yeah, I know. I was just laughing. Sorry,
It's
I'm just
cool.
lucky.
You are really lucky. I mean, that's cool. I that doesn't make me angry. I mean, I'm a little bit envious, but at the same time, it's like, oh, cool. There's already stuff in place so that when it's legal in my states, well, they
Yep.
they have an example. You're paving the way for us. So.
Yeah. Well, that's why I like. That's what I like. Is being kind of. I appreciate. I'm not bragging about it. I'm just appreciative of where I am and how I am. Like I really am genuinely appreciative of it. I realize that not everyone gets it, and that is a huge deal. So
Did you
yeah,
grow up in Did you grow up in California?
yeah. I'm from Fresno, in the middle of the state. It's the Central Valley. Um, it's a fairly large city, but not huge. But it I moved to Berkeley when I went to UC Berkeley when I was 18. So except for some time in DC, a couple times, I lived in Berkeley, and my family is very kind of laissez-faire. They're already kind of progressive, even though they are Republicans. You know, um, and I technically identify with Republicans only because California Republicans are not the same as freaking Republicans in any other state. Please never, ever. I barely like the one. I really don't even like the ones in California. They're a bunch of fucking idiots. But that's beside the point. But they're, but you know, so that, but they understand, and I'm well educated enough about it, and they understand, and I take it. You know, yes, you can sort of tell I'm a little bit high right now, but that's because I'm very, 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 very high. Like, so, you know, most of the time you can't tell. And so I'm like a good person for people to be able to, you know, see and be like, oh, she's a functioning adult, you know, with this. And, you know, it's a good thing, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Guys have any questions about pain? I can answer those before we, head out for the
yeah.
night.
Oh, I've also started using a little bit of like kind of complementary medicine, like essential oils and things, and done a ton of research and things on it. And so nothing like crazy. I refuse to do anything like nuts, but like little mild like things I've made, like a rub, like a after like massage rub or something that has a couple drops of something in it, like and that are clinically shown to be a vasoconstrictor or something, and that has seemed to work out well as well. But that's because I'm a geek and I do too much research on shit. So yeah.
I use hemp oil sometimes. Sometimes that'll kind of ease the muscle pain. If I rub a little bit of hemp oil on my muscles.
Yeah, definitely.
And I also use this white cream, but I can't remember the name. I'll write it down and see about having Steve or someone post the name of it for me, because it has, I want to swear that it has like mint or peppermint in it, but really you rub it on your shoulder a couple times a day for 7 days, and then you only need to rub it on, like, well, not on your shoulder. That's where I rub it because that's where it hurts.
Well, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you only have to rub it every so often after the 7 days if you do it religiously 3 times a day. And it really, really brings down the inflammation. And I know it has a lot of natural products in it, but I got it on Amazon, and I'll have to find its name because it's one of the few things that I always use when I'm starting to get up, because it makes getting up a lot less painful for me. So.
Yeah. That's but that's one of those things that I'm glad that science is coming, forward and realizing they're starting to like validate all these things that that like they actually work, with about they're like going, hey, look, we got, oh, there's a reason that works. Oh yeah, we totally knew that the whole time. And then they market it as their own. So, but it's been fun to like be able to play with that stuff, and kind of just make your own and figure it out. So that was something that I did recently that was really fun.
Sometimes I think that that the people from 100 years ago almost had a better setup in terms of medications, because they were allowed to use like opioids and marijuana and a lot of ancient herbs that the ancient Greeks used all these oils and herbs, and the Far East used all kinds of medicine like that, and it's kind of like we're rediscovering it now. And it's like, why did we not pass this down if it worked, Why? How are we so stupid that we're like, oh, well, we're not going to allow this, or we're not going to let people know it, But I mean, I also think, as you said, the pharmaceutical companies don't want us to know about all these natural things, because then that'll take away their money from, oh, I have this X, Y, or Z problem. Oh, I could use hemp oil or you know,
Yeah, but they're also,
mint.
but the good thing is that they're also realizing they're yielding to market demand, in my opinion,
Yeah,
and they're starting. I mean, not necessarily in a good in a as good as we would hope or want way,
yeah,
but they are yielding a bit. They realize people are wanting these things, and you know, they are putting at least a little bit of something, out there, trying to make it, trying to, even if some of it's hype that they do, like oil companies do, it really, I feel like not only it's like, it's good because the pharmaceutical companies aren't the only people who are important, because like we have all the academics and research, and medical institutions that, yeah, the medical institutions are sort of run by pharmaceuticals, but they also are, when they're academic, they're not as much. I mean, so.
yeah. Steven said a good example would be Dr. Oz
Uh huh.
or Dr. Gupta. Yep, yep.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
also I also see the pharmaceutical companies trying to profit off of it, like
Oh,
the
definitely.
new weed pill they have that doesn't work. Oh, it's
Mm-hmm.
just like marijuana. Oh, but it doesn't work.
No.
Why am I gonna want to put synthetic products in my body when I could have a natural alternative?
And that's one other thing that I like, about being in the Bay Area, is that I'm able to get. Not only can I get, a ton of different things, like I can get like marijuana, like the flowers that are haven't been all kinds of things done to them, and I can get concentrates like that are all naturally based, and things, and but there's also the other things that are there, and so it's a really it's really nice to be able to do. I know, and so yeah, I lost my train of thought again. Sorry.
It's okay. So, Stephen, is there anything else you want to add before? I think that, if there's nothing else to say, I think we all agree we want weed everywhere. And, I think this has been a good discussion on just like the types of medication and the struggles we have with these medications and why we want natural products. So.
I'm really glad that you shared your experience with um uh what is it again? That your medication that you're on right
Oh,
now?
Neurotin.
Yes, the Neurontin. Yes,
Yeah,
that's the one. I can't ever remember the name of it, but I'm glad because I was curious about it, and someone had recommended it to me, but I hadn't taken the time to look at it because I didn't need it,
yeah.
at the time. So I'm glad you shared that.
I would say stick with the weed
Yeah.
because you just are taking so many pills, and even when I go up to a higher number, I have to take a couple a day, and
Mm-hmm.
when I could have, 15 drops of tincture in the
Mm-hmm.
morning, why am I going to pass that up for?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
it doesn't always taste the best unless you get something that's flavored, but it doesn't taste bad either, whereas pills
Or
and
you could do vaporizing if it was legal. Do it's a lot of times just doing like a bowl at night and then or whatever at night and then something in the morning is enough to get people through without anything.
yeah,
You know, so because the effects will last a hell of a lot longer than just immediate.
yeah, yeah. I've heard vaping is pretty good for that. I've never tried to vape myself though. But I think if there's nothing else to say, thank you for coming and listening and participating